Hello everybody, I am Mango Thunderslice, and it has been a minute, hasn't it? Part of that reason is because I've been in YouTube jail, right? I got a couple strikes on the channel, ironically for videos that are about 3 to 4 years old, things about like, Pizzagate and, another one where I was reading a book by a medical doctor about, essentially the hoax that was the HIV/AIDS crisis, which, of course, is a precursor to this whole run with COVID. A mysterious virus causing, symptoms that may or may not be, attributable to the supposed virus, and all of the different medications given to people supposedly to fight the virus, ending up killing them in a much greater quantity than the actual supposed virus. But anyways, those all got strikes from YouTube. I'm currently at 2 strike status, so if we get one more strike prior to September 13th, when the first one expires and falls off, kind of like points on your driving record, then this channel will be permanently deleted and removed. So just a kind of a public service announcement to, subscribe on Bitchute. Both for old videos and for new ones. I'll start to make them more often. I was just taking kind of a break because the other half of the reason, besides being in YouTube jail, was because, it's just not necessarily as rewarding to make videos. We got, nuked by the algorithm sometime in 2019, and since then the growth of the channel has completely flatlined. People don't see the videos on their feed, even if they're, if they click the notification bell and whatnot. And on top of that, I guess that people also have a hard time hearing the audio because I'm driving, which don't really have many other opportunities to make videos. So, that was kind of a bummer that even the people that do get to see it and do want to hear it and make it through all of that algorithmic censorship, that they still can't even hear the content. And that was really kind of like, okay, I think I'm just going to take a break here. So I did, but, like I said, I'll start doing more videos again because many things are happening. Many things have come to fruition and are coming to fruition, which I've talked about for some time. This video nominally is IVF, Modern Family Dynamics, and the Eternal Fertility Myth. But, I was watching a video by Lauren Southern this morning, who, of course, has had her fall from grace due to a whole bunch of reasons that, we won't get into here. But, she started kind of making videos again, regardless of all that background context. I thought it was interesting. She was talking, it's very well known about the female fertility, endless fertility myth that women are told, they can just freeze their eggs and set aside making a family, having a family for indefinite periods of time, and just, basically focus on their career, and that there's really no consequence or cost to that. And that's really a myth. And what, Southern was talking about in addition to that there is a male eternal fertility myth that men similarly, maybe not on the same curve as women, but men also lose their fertility as they age. And it's just, to the credit of the point that, setting aside, family for a career is a choice that does have consequences. And even, one of the women who was promoted by the mainstream media as, focus on your career, freeze your eggs. Like, I guess, she was featured on Time Magazine or whatnot, one of these mainstream publications. And then a few years after that was published, she went to go and thaw out the eggs and have a child, and they basically all failed. And so now basically, she's SOL and can't, fulfill her delayed dream of having a family and being a mother because IVF and the egg freezing process is not without its own errors. And, I know people who have actually, some of Isla's friends were basically conceived through IVF, which for those who don't know, perchance, is basically where they take an egg out of the body and they basically artificially inseminate it in kind of a laboratory setting, and then it is implanted back into the womb and then, grown otherwise naturally after that point. However, there are other aspects which are almost the precursor to genetic genetic modification, right? They can actually take the sperm and perform a treatment on it so that the strongest ones emerge and survive. It's very interesting. And so, it's not necessarily genetic manipulation, but it is sort of a artificial genetic selection. And that's already something that happens. And actually, again, one of Isla's friends is the result of that. He is a smart kid. He's one of the few who is kind of in on Isla's reading level for her age. She just turned 3 over the weekend. It's amazing how time flies. I remember making videos 3 years ago after the birth, and all the things that have happened since have been almost like a blur. Time flies when you've got toddlers, and an infant, and it's just interesting, man. As I've said, every day is a marathon when you have kids, but there's really nothing more rewarding. It's actually really hard for me to fathom being a single person at this point. There are times when I wish I could have just go on an adventure by myself, or but ultimately it's kind of more of a fleeting feeling than it is anything really coherent. In fact, recently also, Space Panther and the girls, they went to her parents for most of the week, and so I had time by myself. And it's like, again, I romanticize this time by myself, but ultimately I end up just watching movies I've already watched. I kind of just like hang out. It's definitely the idea of having time to myself is much more attractive than the reality. Once I actually have that time, I realize that I actually really appreciate being around my family, and it that is what I want, and there isn't actually a better alternative. And of course, as they get older, the challenges of toddlerhood and infanthood will abate, and there will be new challenges and whatnot. But eventually parents do get time back to themselves, but and they have grown kids that are then living their lives, and you still derive that joy of watching them grow and participating in their lives. And people do become parents in their later years. It is definitely more challenging, both in the conception as well as being in the child's life, right? If you become a parent in your 40s, by the time your kids are teenagers, you'll be in your mid-50s. By the time they get to their child, potentially bearing years, then you're already in your 70s. And so, if you want to ever kind of enjoy being a grandparent, it's not necessarily viable unless we all become cyborgs and extend our lifespan by several decades. It all hinges on actually having a family earlier rather than later. And actually, one of Space Panther's cousins got married maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and they've been trying to conceive, and they've been doing IVF, and it hasn't been successful. And I think they've spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars trying to make this process work, and it ultimately has not worked so far. Again, I wish them all the best. And it's sad because this particular couple, the wife and the mother to be, hopefully, is very much into the medical program. She's actually a nurse, and a lot of these people who try the IVF, they don't actually know anything about natural methods of increasing fertility. They just cast them all aside and go straight for the super expensive, highly technological artificial insemination technology, when it's just kind of silly, because there's literally herbs and natural methods that could do the same for a tiny fraction of the cost. But again, it's the medical program. We can't go with time-tested methods that are thousands and thousands of years old, because that might be dangerous. No, let's freeze our eggs and artificially inseminate them and go with all this stuff. And even the process is tens of thousands of dollars. There's also a storage fee that you're paying all these years if you freeze your eggs and whatnot. And again, it's like whatever it takes for people, but it also entails a bunch of drugs that the woman takes to make eggs release and try and help the fertility and conception process. And it's just a very extreme, in my mind, method to make up for the fact that, you know, we have a culture that is anti-life, that is sort of, you know, it's hedonistic. It pretends to be, you know, all about enhancing the quality of life and the enjoyment of life, but really it leaves people in a state of nihilism, of depression, of anxiety, and, you know, all at you know, for the sake of titillation and marginal surface excitement, but at a dearth, at a lack, at a deficit of actual genuine meaning. And that is something that really only comes when you know your connection to the world around you and the meaning and purpose, not just in, you know, your larger philosophical life, but in the day-to-day of knowing that everything that you do on any given day actually will have tangible, long-lasting consequence. And when you have kids, that's kind of just the default state. You know, sometimes you got to remind yourself of it, and again, it can be very challenging. But I would not trade, you know, I would not trade any of the costs to miss out on any of the benefits. And, you know, it's, you know, again, we will have time to ourselves, you know, when the kids get older and they can go to, you know, their grandparents' house and, you know, have a little bit more degrees of autonomy. But, you know, again, it's a transitory challenge for the long-term ultimate benefit. And having a family, you know, again, I highly encourage it, and it entails a growth process that really also gives meaning to a person. It's not just about the having of kids, right? About getting a woman pregnant, or in the case of a woman, just getting pregnant. You know, it is about building the family, growing as a father, growing as a mother. You know, even before what precipitated the, you know, coming together of myself and Space Panther was an internal recognition that I wanted that, and that actually coincided with a massive sort of quantum leap in my own maturity, and my own basically personality changed as a result of that recognition that was something that was meaningful to me. I ceased to be a child in that moment, and I started becoming a man. And that also, you know, when women see that, specifically, you know, the type that actually matter, you know, that are, you know, suitable for a long-term relationship with you, they will perceive that. And that is what they are looking for as well. It's almost like a signal flare that is shot up, and they can see it from afar. And so, you know, you making that change internally signals to others that you are a viable, you know, mate, as a viable husband or wife or whatnot. But, you know, speaking for myself as a man, I, you know, can't really speak as well from the perspective of a mother, other than, you know, looking through Space Panther's experience. But she also has matured a lot. You know, we were children, and now we are adults. You know, you are a child until you have a child, as they say. And, you know, my career didn't really exist before I had kids. It was actually when, you know, our first pregnancy ended in a miscarriage, but it was almost like the alarm went off, and we realized, like, hey, we got to kick it into gear. Like, I can't be making minimum wage, you know, living in an urban environment, you know, and have a kid in this environment. It's just not going to work. It's not going to be beneficial for anybody. So we got the hell out of Long Beach. You know, we came up here to the forested area of California, you know, and, you know, it's a much better place for having kids. And, you know, I started actually putting a lot of time, effort, and energy into building a long-term career. And that is essentially what I've done. So, you know, I'm very fortunate to not have to be scraping by to provide for my family. We can have, you know, luxuries, and it's not all about counting pennies, you know, for every single meal. You know, but it, again, is the result, it's cause and effect of my change in personality, right? If I was still throwing caution to the wind and living like a child, none of this would have happened. I never would have built this career. There would have been no deep set incentive to build this career and to put in the work and show up every single day to make sure that that becomes a reality. And now it's taking another quantum leap. And as I've talked about in previous videos, about the importance of, you know, once you have wisdom and you have knowledge and you have family and you have health, right, beyond that, as Ken Wheeler talks about, the most important thing to have is land. Especially in the hyperinflationary environment we are moving into, having land and being a producer is the ultimate hedge against inflation, right? Consumers are who get screwed by inflation. If all you do is consume what others produce, then you just get hit by the rising prices across the board. But if you can become a producer, which is as simple as growing your own food, if not, in total, which is very difficult, but just in part to supplement your own diet with food that you have produced, and even on a small suburban, lot, you can turn a lawn, a front yard and a backyard lawn into a food-producing, utopia in a sense. Suburban and urban gardening has massive potential, and if you can actually get more than just an eighth of an acre, then of course you have the ability to have a full-on farm. And that is what I have talked about in recent videos, and I am very happy to say that we are now currently in escrow for a property in Dorado County, over 100 acres of beautiful forested land, of kind of rolling hillside, a lot of it south-facing hillside. We will be pursuing a cannabis cultivation permitting for the land, which itself will be very financially lucrative, but we will also have a homestead. We're going to have a farm, with livestock and all kinds of food crops. We're going to have a vineyard. We're going to have an orchard, so all kinds of, stone fruits and berries, and, potentially even have a U-pick, which is very common in Dorado County, places where you can go and, just bring a bucket and pick blueberries or pick blackberries and just fill up the bucket and pay by the pound, less than you would ever find, even at a farmer's market, let alone a grocery store. And again, when you're picking the berries yourself, you get the cream of the crop and just super ripe, super awesome organic berries. And so, again, we will endeavor to produce as much of our own diet through our own farm as is possible. Again, we'll have livestock, so, it's, I don't know if we'll necessarily be butchering them ourselves, but we, that's the thing, is in having the network of, in your local environment for people to, perform the work that you necessarily don't have the skills, time, or qualifications or specialization for. And that's really, again, when in the SHTF scenario, when the grid collapses, not if, when the grid collapses, it's not just about having enough ammo, although that is important. It's about having skills, it's about having food, it's about having that network of people who have skills that are relevant in a non-digital, non-electrified environment. How to make things, how to build things, clothing, woodwork, metalwork, all the above. And, but food ultimately and water are the most important. We're going to drill a well out there, so we'll have our own access to water. And, the sun is free. And once you've got a well, essentially the water is free, assuming that it keeps producing. But, hopefully we'll get a good well drilled, and it'll produce for a long time and produce, all of these crops and raise a fountain of gold out of the earth. In the way that humans have been doing for thousands of years. It is really a really valuable and enjoyable process to raise food out of the earth and then to consume it. And so I am extremely stoked. This is something I've been fighting for a long time. It took a lot to save up enough to put equity into this project, and it's me and 4 others who are either good friends or co-workers or colleagues. And so the 5 of us came together, and we were able to secure an agricultural land loan. And so now basically we are, like I said, in escrow to acquire the property, and sometime in later August we will close on it and it will be ours. And so extremely exciting. I look forward to making a video and multiple videos out there on site and showing you guys kind of the real aspect of the dream coming into reality. And so yeah, that's kind of the main big update. Like I said, subscribe to Bitchute. I tried to make Odyssey, but for some reason it didn't work, and I wasn't able to port over the channel. And I'll try it again, but it didn't work for now. Bitchute is the primary alternative. So if you search for this channel on YouTube and it ceases to exist and you can't find it, it is because YouTube finally nuked us. They probably found some other old video. Again, that's probably not getting any natural views, but YouTube staff are just going through and finding artificial reasons to, get upset and offended about it so that this channel can be nuked, as I, kind of predicted at the beginning of this year. But yeah, like I said, if they find one more strike before September 13th, this channel will cease to exist, and Bitchute will be the primary residence of Mango and Space Panther Explore the Universe. So anyway, that's my video today. Let me know if the audio was still terrible on this video. If so, I'll just have to record them, when I get off the freeway, and they'll only be like 5 minutes long. Otherwise, I'll just have to wait until I'm up at the farm and just record videos outdoors up there. But yeah, let me know how you guys are doing. Glad to be making videos again. Yeah, I encourage people to, refine thyself as gold is refined, and to find a life partner and to build a family, because nothing is more important in the end. Again, wisdom, knowledge, family, health, and then once you've got those, it's time to find land and raise a golden fountain out of the earth. A golden fountain, although that raises a kind of a connotation that may not be as desirable as what I'm meaning. But anyway, hope you guys are doing well, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.